Twitter is undoubtedly one of the worst places that you can hang out in your free time on social media, and unfortunately for NASCAR, it has a huge fan base there. But they did an interesting poll on Twitter here this weekend. Here's what it was. Jeff Gluck decided to do a poll on what fans truly think would be the best types of standings and championship format that NASCAR should drive here in the future. Should they stay with the playoffs, maybe do what they did back in the chase with 10 drivers racing the final 10 races for the championship, or just the Winston Cup point standings where every race matters? Well, it wasn't even close. The Winston Cup standings was head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people who want this, but the question is, how do we get back to the Winston Cup standings? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this, and I feel like I have a foolproof plan to get us back to the Winston Cup standings, and this is how it's going to happen. We need to make sure that this playoff championship is by far the worst championship battle ever since they started this in 2014. And here's how that happens. A lot of people were already upset with Shane Van Gisbergen getting the victory in Mexico City. I mean, why would you be shocked by that? He was going to dominate a road course race, but he was doing so bad in the points that he was actually worse than 32nd in points when he got that victory. Really not a good showing, but hey, since we got rid of the top 30 point stigma, he's able to race for a championship coming this fall. I think the one thing that's going to really deter NASCAR on staying on this playoff standing is if you get someone from the 31st on back to get another victory, maybe even two of them. That would be a slam dunk that this playoff system doesn't work. So if I were you guys, I'd be really cheering on these four drivers up here, because clearly these drivers are struggling this season. They have no reason to be running for a championship. However, if they get that one victory, thanks to the playoff system, they'll be able to advance on. Now, having a championship where you have people like Riley Herbst, Cole Custer, and Cody Ware running for a championship might deter NASCAR a little bit, but at the same time, they may go with, hey, anything can happen with NASCAR. Well, that's when you have to go after drivers that you definitely want to see make the playoffs, but unfortunately do not. I'm not talking about people like Kyle Busch. Yes, Kyle Busch, it would be great to see him run for a championship once again. Unfortunately for Richard Childress Racing, he just doesn't have the power. But you know who would be one that would make NASCAR seriously consider the playoff standings? This guy right here, Chase Elliott in the number 9. This is obviously going to blow up in my face if Chase Elliott gets a victory here in the final 9 races, which I know for a lot of Chase Elliott fans, you want to see that happen. But let's say he absolutely struggles in the next few races. Maybe he gets a couple top 5s, but he's not able to get that victory. And there's too many drivers who get victories, and he's not able to become the points leader. Well, unfortunately, for a driver like Chase Elliott, even though he's one of the most consistent drivers right now in the top 5 in points, he would not run for a championship. Of course, this could be completely crazy. Maybe we can have a season like this, and still NASCAR would be like, yep, playoffs is the best idea ever. But maybe, just maybe, if we get a few more bad situations happen, let's say a driver outside the top 30 in points getting a victory, or one of the favorite drivers in NASCAR not being able to run for a championship, then perhaps we could see that change. Until then, I think we're stuck with the playoff format.